Well, hello there, girlfriend. Ingafay here. Super excited to be with you today. Wanted to share another one of my coaching girlfriends, Lauren Jackson. She is a dating and relationship coach, and she has helped countless women navigate the ups and downs of love and confidence. And today we're going to talk about divorced, but not damaged. I'm so excited to share this topic with you, and Lauren with you. So we will see you on the other side. What's up, Lauren?
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing so well, girlfriend. I'm so excited to have you here to talk about divorce, but not damage. But before we get into that topic, we want to get into your business. Tell us a little bit
Mhm.
about who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them.
Yes, well, I am Coach Lauren Jackson. I am originally from a little town called Opelousas, Louisiana. I actually reside still in Louisiana, but I tell people, at the top of the boot in Shreveport. And so, as a dating and relationship coach and a former divorcee, I get to serve and work with women who have dealt with divorce and then even childhood trauma, overcome those things in order to disrupt sin, secrecy, and shame and really take hold of the life that they truly want. And so it's such an empowering journey to be on. It's an empowering position and purpose to have. And my purpose started back in 2018 when I went through divorce myself. I have two small sons. Now they're not as small as they were then. They're 9 and 11, but at the time they were a lot younger. And so really having to navigate, what happens after you go through just grieving the divorce and all of the nuances that it takes you on. And I always tell people divorce is like the personal invitation to self-discovery. And I have definitely rediscovered who I was meant to be. I spent 15 years in banking and I thought, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And lo and behold, God had completely different plans. He wrecked all my plans. But I'm so grateful for that season of my life. From there came 3 books. Purposeful Pain, Give Me Your Isaac. It was my first Amazon bestseller. And then Intimacy, A Twist of Faith, my second book. And then my latest book, Vulnerability, The Art of Letting Go. And so my life has become a journey, if you will, of how to really thrive after divorce and live the life you desire. So it's a pleasure to be here, to be with your audience. And I'm excited to talk about this title because it is so good and so needed in this climate.
Yes, it is. So I'm just curious, why now? Why now when it comes to this title?
Interesting enough, I thought after, being divorced now almost going on 5 years, that
Mhm.
I didn't know that divorce shame was still a shame. Right?
Mm,
You think like, really, you didn't know that? I mean, I I really didn't think that this thing was still a shame, but it truly is. And I really was faced with it personally and had a conversation brought to me concerning someone dating someone who was divorced with 2 kids. And the conversation was very shameful,
mm,
very shameful of like, well, why are you dating this person? You don't have any children. Why are you dating this person who is divorced and has 2 children? And that really, just listening to the story of why are you entertaining this person, it really triggered my mind to say, oh wait, this is still a thing. And as I
mm.
begin to really talk to my audience and talk to those newly divorced that are finding me, right, I realized that the shame that I once overcame, so many people are still stuck in the middle of that transition,
Right.
and they're not able to find triumph after trauma because they're so ashamed that they're even in it. And so, really helping people to move out of that. And so that is where I sit. The perfect timing is now. I always
Right.
tell people the time you're alive is the time that it's now, because we're never promised tomorrow. And I'm one
Exactly.
person, right? I'm one person. I can't coach everybody, but I can put the resources out there where you can work with me, work through the process that I've gone through in order to get to the results that you really desire and live a life without limits. So that's why we're starting it off now. And I'm super excited to be finally launching this course.
Wow. Yeah, that is awesome. So I love the title, Divorce But Not Damage. How did you come up with that? That's just so creative.
Honestly, so one of my thinking places is my yard. I
Mm,
love being in my flower beds. And typically, when I'm out there, I'm thinking or I'm listening to something, a podcast, and I was out there pulling weeds. And as I was out pulling weeds in my yard, I was thinking about you know really what that looks like, right, when we're pulling up weeds that are surrounding our flowers, and
right.
really us being the flower. But how many times are we covered up, or we're being shunned, or we're being suffocated by
Yep.
what is growing outside of us, and then people can't really see us for ourselves. And the truth is, being divorced doesn't make you damaged, it just makes you done.
Oh, I love
And
it. Oh, I
when
like the D's, girl. I like the D's.
listen, it just makes you done. And as I really thought about, the story that was brought to me, the conversation that was brought to me, and the shame that was brought in that story, and I'm a disruptor. I love to disrupt. I don't think you can grow if there's no disruption, right?
Right.
And as I was out there disrupting the weeds, I thought about the fact that just because there were weeds surrounding my lilies, that didn't mean that my lilies need to be uprooted. I
Oh,
just
I
needed to
love it.
disrupt everything around them
Right.
and be able to show, like, hey, they're still livable, they're still lively. Just because they had something around them that did not want to see them live, it did not deter their growth. And that's really where that title came from, and just something simple, bold, but straight to the point.
I see you got the D thing going on here. We talked about divorce, we talked about damage, we talked about disruption, and you had another D. I don't recall it right now. But it's just so ironic that you were able to come up with all of that while you were doing something that you found meaningful to yourself and leisurely,
Hmm.
that you came up with that creativity. So tell me, the people that you interact with, what are the ages of the folks? I'm sure it's a variety, but kind of tell us who you serve.
Yeah, it is somewhat of a variety. However, typically I work with women that are between that age range of 35 to 45. That's kind of
Mm,
my sweet spot.
okay.
And typically they are overachievers like myself,
Yep.
highly successful women who are not acquainted with failure,
Mm,
and who take on everything with all of their heart. And so the same heart that we bring to our businesses or to our jobs, to our positions, we also bring that home. And so a lot of times we're so used to achieving outwardly that when we come home to achieve inwardly, we bring that same energy. And
mm,
so when you're thinking about divorce, and even when I thought about my own personal journey of divorce, when I first announced that I was going through a divorce, I really had to take time to announce that, like, to my
mm.
family, to my close friends, to my job. Because what people don't tell you is that when you're going through a divorce, it doesn't just affect you, it
Right.
affects you and everything outside of you that you
Right.
show up in.
Yep.
And so, really having to deal with my own shame and really be able to understand that this was not a personal attack, but a purposeful alignment.
Right.
And so that's really one of the things that I really had to work through myself when I had to decide and make the really big decision that, hey, I'm done here and I'm okay with that. And so that's kind of how it kicked off.
So when women are going through this transition, how do you encourage them to prioritize self-care and self-love? Because I'm sure there's a lot of negativity going on with the thoughts that they're thinking about what went down. They even may feel like they're a failure because of their divorce. Kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and so where we start in the process, I have a strong 3-step process, and I always tell people sin plus secrecy equals shame. And so when we talk about and unpack what we hear as sin is only guilt,
Mm.
those guilty feelings. And so we start at unpacking those guilty feelings, really sitting and uncovering where do they come from, and then how are they really driving our decision making. And what I have found time and time again is that a lot of times it's tied to our inner child,
Mm.
and so it's tied to a season that we were alive but we don't recall or remember, but it's still driving us in our attachment styles. And so when I'm talking to women about why do we need to really put ourselves first in self-care, it's because you can't seem to move forward if you can't stop looking backwards.
Oh, I love it. Hmm.
And so when you're thinking about thriving after divorce, having hope after divorce, you've got to be willing to look forward. And sometimes you got to be willing to look inward, right?
Yep.
And it's very interesting because a lot of times us overachievers are not used to putting ourselves first.
Right.
So it's very uncomfortable, because at first your mind is saying you're selfish. But if you're on a plane, they don't tell you you're selfish. They tell
That's
you
right.
on the plane to put the mask
It's
on you
on
first,
first. That's right.
even if you're with a child.
Yep.
Because how are you going to serve them if you don't, if you pass out? You don't know how long it's going to take,
That's right.
to see a transition happen, literally, right? And so a lot of times we're not accustomed, and our culture doesn't really make it acceptable, if you will. We're just getting to the point where like self-care is a thing. But when I think about like my mom's age, self-care was not even existing. Self-care was making sure your kids were fine,
Mm.
but it didn't include you.
Wow.
It didn't include you.
Wow.
So we're making self-care include you.
So, how do you help women work through the guilt that they may be feeling because of their failed relationship?
So, interesting enough, I typically start with what I call solving for the illness instead of
Mm.
stopping at the symptom.
Mm.
And so, what we do in those first meetings, and even in the course, we'll actually really unpack naming the pain. When I first wrote Purposeful Pain was my journey to wholeness, step by step. And what I understood was that before I could look for the solution, I had to first name the problem and define it.
Right.
And so, very similar to when we go to the doctor, they ask us a billion and one questions about ourselves, about our families, about our parents, maternal, paternal. And they ask a lot of in-depth questions because they're trying to make the math, if you will. And so we really start with that process of uncovering. And we do one of my very favorite self-discovery tests, which is called the attachment style quiz. And so the attachment style quiz actually breaks down what is your attachment style. And so your attachment style actually forms between birth and about 2 years old. And so that's why I always say, you're alive when it happens, but there's no memory of it.
Interesting.
But that is the seed form of you. And so when we look at how your mother was at that time, or your father, or whoever the primary caregiver was for you, whatever feelings they were feeling in that season of your life, it is more times than not showing up in the way you see, view, perceive life. And so there's 4 different ones. There's the anxious avoidant, the avoidant, and then the secure.
Mm.
And so when you think about that time frame, and even ask, I challenge my students to ask, if their parents are still alive, what were they thinking in that season? Were they excited? Were they nervous? What was life like for them? Because that really matters. So if you have an anxious person who's scared that nothing's going to go right, then you probably see yourself being just as anxious.
Interesting.
And so it only changes every 4 years, but it has to be something that you are intentionally focused on. So how can you focus on something that you can't identify?
Right.
And so naming that is so crucial. For me, my name to pain was lack of security. So
Mm.
I struggled with an avoidant attachment style. I just didn't want to face it.
Interesting.
I didn't want to face it. And so when we start unpacking it from this science perspective, and then we roll it into like your decision making today, it is very, very clear. How did you get here? And kind of
Right.
answer the question, why did you get married?
Right.
As well.
So basically, you're saying that, and I want to make sure that I wrote this down right. Solve for the illness instead of, it was another S.
Stopping at the symptoms.
Stopping at the symptoms. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you're just peeling the onion and just finding out exactly why they feel the way they feel.
Absolutely.
Not the surface level, because it's always deeper than that. The stuff that's back in history that they may not even thought that the reason they felt that way was the reason that they feel that way. That's deep. That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
So then after they solve for the illness instead of stopping at the symptom, then how do you rebuild them up? I guess because you're kind of figuring that out, that what held them back. So how do you build them up so they're more confident and joyful and happy in their present state?
Yeah, so we really go through that secrecy space, and secrecy is where we really change your limited belief systems, because secrecy is what people can't hear or what we refuse to share. And so a lot of times the negative things that we think about ourselves, they happen in secret. We don't tell people that we don't think we're pretty. We don't tell people that we think we're a failure. These are the secret things that we struggle with, but we don't share. And so in that section of focus, we really start to change the story that we tell ourselves. And so we work through truth telling. What is the truth? And then what is your truth?
Right.
And how does that mirror, or do they, in really giving language, if you will, to where they are, and then of course where they're wanting to be. And so it's a beautiful discovery session, because we're really able to walk through rebuilding the confidence piece by piece. Also too, taking a lot of time to reflect and kind of slow down, because as overachievers, we're always doing something. Like, we don't know what sit down is, It's like,
Right.
What is sit down? What is mindfulness? So we really go through a lot of exercises of mindfulness, which is extremely interesting, because most of us, we're not mindful. David asked God, he said, who are we that you're mindful of us, right? After he went through the season of sin, and he went through the season of losing his son with Bathsheba. And so we really go through that mindfulness and understanding not only just who we are, but then who does God say we are? And actually being able to share that, and then also release the version of ourselves that we thought we were. So it's a beautiful exchange.
Interesting. That's deep. That's deep. And normally, how long does that transition from you peeling the onion to building the woman back up to really loving herself and loving her truth, really being confident in herself and joy? How long does that normally take?
The entire process is typically a 90-day process.
I think, okay.
Yeah, it's typically a 90-day process, because you have to unlearn.
Right.
So you're going through unlearning, and then you're coming into embracing.
Right.
It's very intricate. However, it's very needed. And so as you're going through those 90 days, you've got 3 months of reflective time.
So it sounds like it's a lot of swapping out negative talk, negative self-talk. I call it stinking thinking. Getting rid of the negative Nancy moments that you've had in your life in the past, and really bringing in positive Patty and making her more prominent in your life, so that you can build that confidence muscle. Would you agree or disagree?
Oh, absolutely. I always tell people it's like changing what they use, right? So it's taking you from going to those mental Zoom meetings that only you attend, and that you pay with your destiny.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Yes.
And so in these mental Zoom meetings, it's just you and your negative thoughts on the screen, and you're the only person attending. And so we literally stop you from attending those. I always tell people in
Right.
negative mental Zoom meetings that it's so interesting because, of course, with COVID, it really took us to this virtual space.
Exactly.
And a lot of people struggled with virtual connections
Hmm.
because now you have to bring a different version of yourself. And I love that you're authenticity coach, because you have to bring a different version of you for
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
And most people weren't prepared for that.
Well, girl, you have given us some golden nuggets today. It's just been so good. Now, I know when we first talked, you were telling me about a freebie that you had. So tell my audience a little bit about that.
So, one thing about me is I love testing. I love testing. And I love data. I believe data really helps us to discover who we're always meant to be, right? So in the mind of data, I have a freebie. It is our free quiz. It's about 23 questions total, but it really helps to test your process, test where you are in the process of divorce, of your healing process, of your
Mm,
confidence levels, where you are with your trust issues. Come on, somebody, are you still struggling with trust?
I know that's
And then
right.
also too, where you are in the space of moving forward.
Mm,
What does that look like? Because coaching is all about moving forward.
yep.
It's one of the reasons that I love it so much. And so it's a free quiz. It doesn't take but maybe 2 to 3 minutes, if that. It's very fast, and we send you the results right after, so you
Okay.
can really look through kind of where you are. The best way to start the healing process is you have to be self-aware. You've got to be
Exactly.
aware. So when you go to the doctor, you go because you're aware that something's wrong. There's a
Exactly.
symptom. You're coughing.
Yep.
Your blood pressure is up. Your head's hurting, and so your heart's hurting. That's the symptom. But we want to solve for the illness, what's going on behind the hurt heart. And so that's what this quiz allows you to do. I know that I shared our link tree for Coach Lauren J. So it's right there at the top, where you can click the free quiz and get right to it. And after you take the free quiz, you have access to either book a discovery call with me or join our waitlist for Divorce Not Damaged, as we will start our enrollment here in the next couple weeks. And so it's going to be limited. The enrollment will be limited because I'm looking forward to really getting my hands in the midst of your and really helping you navigate that and just be your support. And so I do know that we're going to have some limited spots available. And so nevertheless, you definitely want to make sure that you either join the wait list or just book a call with me, and we can take you from there. And so my freebie is to help you get self-aware in less than 3 minutes. So I'm really excited about this free quiz, and then just really what it helps you uncover, most importantly.
Well, girl, I am so glad that you joined us today. Just really quickly, can you share with us any final quick thoughts that you have before we close out today?
So I want to first thank you so much for allowing me to be on this on your podcast and also with your audience. So thank you for sharing your time with me. And I just want to remind you that you being divorced doesn't make you damaged. It just makes you done. And in order to truly serve who you're called to be, you have to first break up with who you thought you were going to be. And that takes courage. And so I am looking forward to helping you take the leap of faith, take the big step, and really go after the life that you desire, because it's truly on the other side of your obedience. So I look forward to connecting with you, working with you, and just really helping you as you continue on this life of transformation. Because listen, divorce is just an invitation for self discovery. That's it.
Right.
So
That's right.
come through and let us help you rediscover the new you on purpose.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, girl, thank you so much for your wisdom and your value that you provided to my tribe today. We so appreciated the
Thank
information
you.
that you shared with us. And then for those that are watching, thank you again for your time and attention. If you know of anyone that you would like me to interview, by all means, drop me a DM or send me an email and let me know exactly who uh, you would like me to interview and have more information out for you, because it's all about you, girlfriend. We want to make sure that you're taking care of you. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.